How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is Steve from the APG, and you're watching my wishlist for Streets of Rage 5. If you enjoyed this video and others on our channel, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. I love playing Streets of Rage 4. It's one of my most highly anticipated games of 2020. I've been a fan of the series since the Sega Genesis days, and it's by far my most favorite beat-em-up franchise ever. I think it's the best, don't at me. What I love about Part 4 is that it sticks to the classic formula, but sprinkles in a new additions here, an upgrade there, and packages everything in a brand new look. While the game is great to play, I feel that it's missing a few elements I believe would elevate the franchise back to beat-em-up prominence. I would like to see Streets of Rage 5 parallel the impact Streets of Rage 2 had on the franchise. Just note, as of this recording, there has not been any official announcement regarding DLC or even the next game. But let's get on with the show. Here's what I would like to see out of Streets of Rage 5.
Streets of Rage 4 is a good looking game. The decision to go with a more animated style brings the game to life like never before. But I don't feel the game takes advantage of the artistic direction fully. The only animated scene in the entirety of Streets of Rage 4 was the opening credits, and I only wish the same care and attention was spread across the game's story mode. Instead of having text and still images, maybe save for 1 to 2 frames of animation, you could have had cutscenes that are fully animated, fully voiced, breathing life into the story like we've never seen before. As suggested by my buddy Sterling, it would be nice to see some more animation that's not necessarily fighting related, like win poses or animation triggered by in-game events. I, for one, would love to see the return of idle animation for all characters. The 5 mainline brawlers are all unique and fun to play in Streets of Rage 4. Adam is definitely my most favorite. Adam was such a joy to play because he hasn't been playable since the first game, and he has some pretty sick moves. Aside from Adam though, there were no unlockable characters of Streets of Rage 4. Sure, we got retro characters, which is a cool and nostalgic inclusion, but I wanted to see more characters in line with the main 5. My first playthrough of Streets of Rage 4, I would have bet good money that at least some of the boss characters would have been playable. At the very least, Max and Shiva as they were in previous entries, but it felt odd that more characters weren't unlockable. I was especially surprised Estelle wasn't, considering her striking design, special moves, and her coming to terms with the vigilantes. Estelle would have been ripe for the unlocking. But the biggest oddity was legacy characters who were featured in the past, but no longer playable in any means, such as Ash and Rue. For Streets of Rage 5, I would love to see a beefed up roster. Shiva and Max and Dr. Zan in all their modern glory. Estelle definitely needs to be playable. Hell, Commissioner and Barbin while you're at it. Fan favorite Rue needs to be playable beyond his cameo appearance. Ash probably needs an updated look. And most importantly, we need to see the return and update of Mr. Eddie or Sammy Skate Hunter, whichever name they're going to use for him. I believe he's probably the most anticipated character currently in the wings. Straight to the point, we need Yuzo Koshiro to be on the soundtrack of Streets of Rage 5 full-time, point blank. I think the music in Streets of Rage 4 is decent, nothing awful, but most tracks are pretty forgettable. The only tracks I really enjoyed were We're Back, Rising Up, and the character select screen music. 2 of those tracks by Yuzo Koshiro. I've always felt the music in Streets of Rage 1 and 2 were the highlights of the franchise. The first Streets of Rage game had the best soundtrack overall, and if we can get more music in the vein of the first game, I'd be happy. Hell, I wouldn't even mind if they stuck to chiptune. Maybe whoever does the music can mix modern instruments with retro sounds. The music in Streets of Rage 4 was appropriate, but never had me bopping my head, aside from the previously mentioned tracks. I didn't care to listen to the music independent of the game, as I did for the first 2 games. Online play was such a necessary inclusion to the Streets of Rage toolbox. Although it doesn't replace the feeling of couch co-op, it's a great alternative for those who may not have access to other players. For the sequel, I would love to see Streets of Rage 5 implement full 4-player online co-op. As they say, the more the merrier. I wouldn't mind a fun ranking system that kept track of the number of enemies defeated, highest combos achieved, highest difficulty beaten, and most weapons used, and more. In terms of battle mode, I would love to see at least 1 or 2 more stages, the similar level design as the Y Tower elevator, which is my favorite stage. There's something so satisfying about throwing your enemies out of a high-rise elevator. It would be nice to see custom matches and levels, like you pick what weapons and items appear on the battle stage. Perhaps even the option to toggle hazards on and off. Let's get a spectator mode going. While battle can seem like mindless fun, with some smart choices like combat options and level customization, it can be very competitive. It would be a nice option to have ranked matches for those looking for some stiff competition. Boss rush mode should return, but I also believe they should have a survival mode, which would be a great addition for those who want to put their brawling skills to the test. Also, a color editor would be a nice touch. I always felt each Streets of Rage sequel attempted to evolve the series in a unique way. While Streets of Rage 2 was all about the beefed up graphics and combat mechanics, Streets of Rage 3 sprinkled in slight improvements on the fighting framework, but became more ambitious as a game. Like the first game, it had multiple endings. It had different ways to unlock secret characters and a very slight progression system where your blitz attack grows stronger the more you play well. I would like to see these type of elements return. In Streets of Rage 5, I would love to see a story mode with a branching level system, levels with hidden areas, and multiple endings. How about each character has their own story? I would like to see the series fully embrace a progression system where your character and their attacks become stronger over time, and each level adds new elements to their attacks. Or how about the ability to have a moveset loadout? I know it sounds crazy ambitious, but it would be cool. This can increase the replay value to incentivize players to play the story mode often. Maybe offer daily missions where players can gain points for each achievement earned, adding to their overall rank. And for those who are purists, offer an arcade mode where you can just play the levels without any of the fancy bells and whistles. Just good old, bare-knuckled Streets of Rage fun. Streets of Rage 5 should be the entry that raises the stakes and tries something new. Part 4 played it safe, which I'm cool with. I thought it was a great way to ease audience, old and new, back into beat 'em ups. Now that we have a taste, I think we're ready for the full meal.
So to Dotemu, Crush Games and Lizardcube, if by happenstance you end up watching this video, please consider some of the things I've listed on this wish list. I feel like Streets of Rage 4 was a litmus test to see how hungry the market was for a legacy beat 'em up game, and I think Streets of Rage 4 has been received very well. But I still would like to see the franchise move from multiple direction for the next sequel. What do you think of my wish list? What would you like to see out of Streets of Rage 5? Let me know now below in the comments, and thank you so much for watching this video. This is Steve from the ABG, and I'm out.